In this video, I will be providing you with examples for how you can modify the floor framing to install a pull-down stairway. However, I will not be providing you with information on how that stairway will need to be installed. So again, this is just for modifying the floor framing. And for our first example, we will be using a garage beam. And I do understand that some garages aren't going to have a garage beam in them, but you can use the same method or methods that I'm going to show you in this video. And that might make a little more sense here as we continue on, because this one here, of course, is attached to the garage beam where we have a double joist. And you can see here where this joist was cut. This one was part of the existing framing here. These three, and this one here was the new one that was installed. So we have this one here that was installed, these two were installed, and this one would have been cut. And let's go ahead and look at another view. Doubler, double hangers, double hanger here, single joist hanger, and a single joist hanger here will be used. Another view of it there. And now let's keep in mind that this is something that might work, but it might not. And that would usually have something to do with what most structural engineers would require, and that would be a double joist with a double hanger instead of a single joist. So I just drew the first one in there as an example for you to consider. And of course, I do realize that some of these structural engineers get a little carried away with some of their designs. But if you don't know anything about structural engineering, then you might want to go bigger. You might want to build it a little stronger, especially if you are going to be using it for storage. So let's go ahead and take a look at this one here. We went ahead and added another doubler in here. So we have our original joist right here. And then we just have a doubler that we added to one side and to the other side, and hopefully that makes sense. Another view of it here. Again, our original blocking. This might be a rim joist on yours. This might be blocks for roof rafters, something like that. And of course, the opening here is 25 inches by 54 inches. I noticed that was a popular size for some of these pull-down stairs. And here's what it would look like if we moved it over a little bit. And again, this would be a more common application if the ceiling joists were going to go through, and each side. The ceiling joist on this side would be sitting on a wall, and the ceiling joist on the other side would be sitting on a wall. You could still create the same opening using the same methods here. Double hanger again. This method here is kind of the same. Double hanger here. This section is still the same, or pretty much the same, a little shorter than the other one. Here we have a double hanger again supporting a doubler, and we would have simply just cut this joist. Remember, this would have been an existing joist, and you would have simply just cut it to fit the doubler or to fit the opening size. View from the bottom there. Another angle. Double joist hangers, single hangers, and that provides us with another example. Now here's another example you might want to consider, and that would be using the original joist. So remember, we have the original joist right here. So instead of putting another doubler in here, we would just make this a little longer and then add a joist in here to create the desired opening that we're looking for. Now this is actually a 22.5-inch opening, and the only 22.5-inch opening to scale in this video, but I thought I would throw one in there. And for those of you wondering why this doesn't need to be a doubler, well, you can put a doubler in there if you want to, but I think a single joist here is going to be fine unless it's going to be supporting some type of heavy load. And I think these stairs do actually attach to the side, but whether or not that would be considered a heavy load, I'll have to leave that up to you. And I don't know if this method here is going to save you a little bit of lumber or not, but you could always check that out, do the math on that yourself, because that will vary from project to project. So again, 22.5 inches by 54 inches. And again, you could always put the joist on the other side depending upon your plan. And another option for you will be to install the doublers as we did, and then use some type of spacer blocks or spacer lumbers that will provide you with the desired spacing, like a 1/2-inch piece of plywood or OSB, and then you'll simply nail that to the doubler and then nail this piece of lumber to this to create the opening that you're looking for. So not too difficult. If you needed a 3/4 inch piece here, or if you needed a 1.5-inch piece, then you would just use 2 pieces of lumber instead of the spacer block or the OSB here. So hopefully that makes sense. And you could always add some type of framing anchors or building hardware, straps, anything if you want to make this connection a little stronger. And now let's take a look at another example. And again, here I'm going to go all the way over to the original joist to create my doubler. So here I'm going to add a joist here and add a joist here, and then take and cut my opening in for 2 doublers, and then have my double hangers in. Double hanger here at the 4 corners, and then single hangers to support the joist that are going to connect to the doubler on each side. So here we have a joist in here to create the desired opening that we're looking for. And again, this method here you can see will work on projects that have longer ceiling joist. So again, placing a joist here to create the opening we need. A view from the bottom. And in this example here, we went ahead and installed a doubler joist here. Instead of using this as a doubler and installing one more joist next to this one, we simply added the 2 joists here to create the opening that we wanted. Again, I'm just kind of throwing out a bunch of different ideas here. You might be able to use one of them or use a combination of a couple of them. So again, this opening here, not going to be a problem, even if the joists are going to be a little longer, as we can see here. So again, hopefully you can kind of make some sense that this type of opening here can be placed over here. It can be moved over to here. The same type of framing methods can be used for a variety of different situations, but obviously not every situation. So if you do run into a situation where one of the examples in here did not help you, you got something a little crazy, feel free to email me some pictures and I'll try to figure something out that will work for your project, or make another video that will be helpful to others also. So you know the drill. If you like the video, hit the thumbs up button, and any comments or questions, leave them in the comment area. Questions I will answer as soon as possible.